Are you a Canadian resident and you found it really challenging when determining the registered savings account you should be investing in today? Or simply put, you're confused about the registered savings account that should be of higher priority for your investment decisions today? Well, from my decade of experience, I can tell you categorically that many Canadians are facing these same issues today. And this is simply because there are limited resources that individuals have, which is constraining them from investing in all the registered savings accounts all at once. In other words, limited resources will create confusion as to what accounts to invest in first above the others. Now, according to a survey by Corporators, a Canadian financial service provider, just 1/4 of Canadians aged 18 to 44 feel confident in their ability to choose investment opportunities, while 38% said they don't know everything they need to know about their investing options. So if that's you, then worry not, because I have the solution that's going to help you make the right decisions and faster. In this video, I'll be talking about the best order to invest in your registered savings account when you have limited funds. And I'll also talk about the accounts you should prioritize over the others. So in order to ensure you don't miss any part of the valuable tips and content I'll be sharing in this video, ensure you watch carefully till the end. Hey everyone, this is Ebuka. This is the Finance Whiz channel. If this is your first time on this channel, welcome. Basically, Finance Whiz focuses on topics around income generation, investment and savings, debt management, and overall financial freedom for you. So if you strongly believe that these topics are very important to you, please ensure to like, share, and subscribe to this channel so you don't miss any of the videos subsequently. Now, as you may already be aware, there are so many registered savings accounts that have been established by the government of Canada to support Canadians for many reasons. The most recent being the First Home Savings Account. So if you need in-depth details about this registered savings account, I've tagged the video here which I've done previously, which you can go back to watch so that you can have a full overview of this registered savings account. However, in this video, I'm just going to be focusing on the 4 key registered savings accounts which almost all Canadians that are above the age of 18 will typically have. And I'll be explaining what you need to consider before you determine which of them to invest in as a priority over others. Now, to help you effectively understand the concept and help you make a more efficient decision around this subject matter, I'll be explaining both the similarities and the differences amongst all these accounts, because this will serve as the basis upon which your investment action plan will be made. Now, let's dive deeper into these accounts so you can see what I'm going to talk about. Firstly, I want to talk about the similarities amongst the TFSA, RRSP, FHSA, and RESP. By the way, TFSA stands for Tax-Free Savings Accounts, RRSP stands for Registered Retirement Savings Plan, FHSA stands for First Home Savings Accounts, and RESP stands for Registered Education Savings Program or Plan. So in terms of the similarities, these are all registered savings accounts where you can hold eligible investment vehicles such as bonds, cash, GICs, and mutual funds. And that similarity amongst them is that they're all tax sheltered. In other words, whatever funds are contributed here are not subjected to tax for the time being. The other similarity is that they typically have annual contribution limits which would restrict how much you can actually contribute on a yearly basis. Additionally, you can transfer unutilized limits from a previous year to a current year. All this adds up to your contribution room for a particular period. The last similarity amongst these 4 accounts is that you can have multiple accounts. You can have in different financial institutions, same account. For instance, you can have 10 TFSAs, you can have 5 RRSPs. There's no restriction on the number of accounts that you can have under a particular category. Now let's delve into the differences across these 4 registered savings accounts. First, I'm going to start with the tax-free savings account, which is otherwise known as TFSA. So for the TFSA, your investments will grow tax-free for life. In other words, you can withdraw at any time without being taxed, no matter when. Secondly is that you can have a TFSA for life. There is no restriction on an age where you must get to before disposal or terminating the account, unlimited age of the TFSA account. Thirdly, you need to remember that it's contributed by you through your post-tax income most times. Another feature of the TFSA which differs from many other accounts is the fact that there's a fixed limit that is set by the government, but it is not tied to your income. In other words, everyone has a level playing ground. Say $6,500 for a year, everybody has that limit on a particular year. Now remember that the unutilized portion from the previous year will be added to your contribution room for the current year to get your total contribution room for the current year. Second is the RRSP, otherwise known as Registered Retirement Savings Plan. So one of the key differentiating factors is that your investment or contributions are tax sheltered for a particular range of period. And within that range of period where your contribution is being tax sheltered, if you were to withdraw funds from that account for reasons other than lifelong learning plan or first-time home buyers plan, you'll be taxed heavily. Another differentiating factor is that at your 71st year, you're required to move your funds from your RRSP to your RRIF. And if you don't do that, you'll be taxed on the overall sum that you have saved up in your RRSP, which will be too heavy for you. Third differentiating factor is that your employer has the ability to contribute to your RRSP. Of course, they will have a group RRSP, and that adds up to your own total RRSP. The other thing is that the contribution made to your RRSP is tax deductible. That's whatever you get becomes a tax credit to you. Lastly is that your contribution room is tied to your income level from the previous year, which typically sits at 18% of your prior year income. The third account I'm going to talk about is the first home savings account. So the FHSA is strictly for first-time home buyers or those that have just left a divorce leading to a loss of their property. Typically, you should not have owned a home in the last 4 years before purchasing your current residential property. It has an $8,000 limit on an annual basis and a $40,000 lifetime limit. Now, the other differentiating factor with this account is that it must be terminated at your 71st year. Also, it allows you to transfer from your RRSP to your FHSA. Now, also the fourth account, which is the RESP. Now, let's get into the key differentiating factor for the RESP. Now, the fund in the RESP is typically made up of your own contribution as well as government contribution in form of grants. So the government grant is called the Canadian Education Savings Grant and the Canada Learning Bond. The other feature of these, just like the TFSA, is that you can withdraw at any time with no tax. However, this is not tax deductible. Last is that there's a maximum of a lifetime contribution of 50,000 limits for each child. So now that you understand the features and the differences across these different accounts, let me walk you through the process of making your decision on which to invest in first or which should be of a higher priority. Before I get into all of that, you need to remember that no two individuals will have the same financial situation. As such, approaches may differ across board or across different people. Therefore, your decision will ultimately differ based on factors such as your income level, what you anticipate you'll be earning in the future, your spending habits, your investment goals, and so much more. That's why it's important to speak to a financial advisor that will know or listen to your specific situations to get the best recommendation. However, fret not, because I'm going to talk about the different scenarios and perspectives that can accommodate the different possibilities. So let's take a simple example. Assuming you had $5,000 and you are torn between the decision of which of these four accounts to invest in. Step one, you need to ask yourself, what goals are you trying to achieve in the short to medium and even the long term? Now, I'm going to classify them into 7 categories. These 7 categories will end up becoming my different scenarios, which I'll be running through with you. So the first category are for people that are looking to buy their first home or enroll in a lifelong learning program in the short to medium term. The second category are those that have an urgent short-term or medium-term goal, such as saving for a trip or any celebration. You desire to purchase an asset or expensive equipment such as a washing machine or a dryer, television sets. Those that also want to purchase a second home, and even if you're a low income earner or those within a low tax bracket. So the third category are those that are anticipating that they're going to pay significant high taxes sometime down the line. This might be because you're expecting that your income will increase significantly, and that will typically push you into a higher tax bracket, or you're expecting a high capital gains, which might arise from disposal of properties, sales of investments, and other typical assets that will result in a lot of gain for you. The fourth category are those that are anticipating or expecting that as at the time of their retirement, they will still remain high income earners. The fifth category are those that are looking to invest heavily in US stocks. So the sixth category are those that have young kids that are looking to get into college or university anytime soon, or maybe sometimes down the line. And my last category are those that are young individuals just starting up their career, or are trying to start up investment for the first time and don't have any urgent needs at that point. So let's delve into each of these categories, and I'm going to explain what will be of higher priority for you. So for scenario 1, if you're looking to buy a house or a lifelong learning program or a full-time schooling program, the first thing you need to do is to exhaust your RRSP, which is a registered retirement savings plan. This is because it offers the opportunity to withdraw as much as $35,000 towards your down payment, and you can also withdraw $10,000 for your lifelong learning program as well. You're also given the opportunity to pay back the funds within 15 years, starting from the second year after withdrawal was made. So in addition to these benefits I mentioned earlier, you also enjoy tax reduction benefits, which comes in form of tax credit or tax refunds that typically sit around 30 to 33% of your investment or contributions. So once your RRSP is exhausted, go for your FHSA. That's because it offers you all the opportunity to withdraw all your funds without having to repay back. Now I put this as second priority after the RRSP because in addition to the withdrawal benefits of the RRSP, it gives you opportunity to get tax credit or tax returns, which FHSA does not offer. Now let's assume you are saving for a down payment and you have saved up 35k, which means you have access to 35,000, and then because the FHSA has run for almost 2 years, you have $16,000. So that's 35 plus 16k. You should be having a comfortable $51,000, which can help you purchase a home today in Canada. So finally, once you have exhausted this RRSP as well as the FHSA, you can then go ahead to invest in your TFSA and your RESP as you so desire. There's no sort of restriction from my end. Hopefully by now you would have already bought a home, so there's no urgency anymore. So scenario 2, like I mentioned earlier, you have a short-term goal other than lifelong learning plan and a home purchase. My first recommendation will be for you to exhaust your TFSA first, and that's because you can withdraw for it anytime to meet up with those short-term needs such as your emergencies, your travels, your plans, and so on, which might actually be difficult for you to withdraw if it was in a registered savings plan or any other registered savings plan that has restrictions on withdrawals. So other than your TFSA plan, if you want to meet up with short urgent needs, I would say that it will be better to save the funds in a non-registered savings account so that it gives you opportunity to withdraw whenever you need the funds. So for scenario 3, if you're anticipating that you're going to pay high taxes as a result of increased income or capital gains, I'll typically recommend that you exhaust your RRSP first. This is because saving your RRSP will reduce your tax liability for the year. On average, you get tax credit equivalent to 1/3 of your contributions as returns for the year. In fact, if you anticipate that you're going to be getting a lot of income or gains like capital gains, sometimes say 1 to 2 years time, you can actually save your contribution room for the current year by not putting any funds into your RRSP, just to save it for that time when you will need it more. This is a very simple, effective tax planning approach that many people are using. Now, if you want to even be more efficient, the tax refund you're getting as a result of investing in this RRSP, you can then use that funds to invest in other things like your TFSA or your FHSA if you've not bought a home yet. That way you can make even much more income than you anticipated at the beginning. Next is for you to exhaust your FHSA. This is on the basis that you have not already bought a home or divorced at the moment. Now I'm recommending this as my second because it is tax deductible as well. Unfortunately, the contributions you make at the first 60 days of the year does not count to the previous year's contribution, just like in the case of the RRSP. So if you're done with exhausting your FHSA, next is to exhaust your TFSA. What I'll typically do in this case is that if I determine how much tax I will likely be paying, I can contribute that funds into my TFSA room, of course if I have enough room, and then I can use that funds for short-term investments such as your GICs, high interest or high yield savings accounts. That way you can earn interest on those funds and use it to offset your tax payable. Alternatively, you have a very low contribution room, then put the amount set aside for the tax payable into a non-registered savings account so you can make interest on that funds, which then becomes additional income for yourself. So onto scenario 4, if you anticipate that you're going to be high income earner upon retirement, I would say you exhaust your TFSA first before considering your RRSP, FHSA, and RESP. The only caveat to this is that if you have not purchased a home, then of course you have to contribute to your RRSP first, which I mentioned in one of the scenarios earlier before. Now, the only reason why I'm not recommending you invest into your RRSP first is because the RRSP is simply designed to shelter your funds only until your 71st birthday, of which at that point you'll be required to transfer all the funds to RRIF. Now, the rationale behind the government setting this up in this way is such that at the point of retirement, you would likely be in a lower tax income bracket because you are earning lower income. As such, those funds will be taxed at a lower tax rate. However, if you're earning high income at that point, the funds will be taxed at a high tax rate, which would then defeat the purpose of having the RRSP for the longest period of time. So the fifth scenario is for those that are looking to invest heavily or significantly in US-based stocks. I know so many Canadians shy away from investing in US-based stocks or other foreign stocks because of the currency exchange issues and then the tax issues as well. Well, I completely understand that. However, I'm going to recommend that you have a wide variety of stocks or ETFs that you're going to invest in for the purpose of diversification and spreading your risk across board. Now, in terms of my recommendation around the registered savings account you want to use if you significantly invest in US stocks, I'll say number one, exhaust your RRSP first. And that's because the Internal Revenue Services in the United States, which is equivalent to CRA in Canada, does not recognize the TFSA as a retirement savings account. So you're going to be required to pay non-resident withholding taxes from any income that flows from US sources. Of course, once you exhaust your RRSP, you can then go for the other registered savings accounts such as the TFSA, FHSA, and your RESP. So my scenario 6, which I mentioned earlier, for those that have kids that are going to university or colleges, this is pretty straightforward. Invest in your RESP as much as you can. So the quantum of funds you'll be investing in your RESP would depend on how quickly your kids will be going into college or the university where you have to expend funds. So what that simply means is that if you are going to the university as soon as possible, you might want to invest or ramp up your investment into those accounts as quickly as possible. But of course, if it's down the line, you want to gradually take your time and do that. Now, the purpose of the RESP, which I'm sure you already know, is to enable you save for their tuition and also to take advantage of government grants that can even make those investments grow faster. However, I want to emphasize that contributing to your RESP does not lower your tax. In other words, it's not tax deductible. And at the point when your kids are going to be withdrawing the funds for whatever educational purposes they want to use it for, they'll be required to add it as part of their income as students. You can then exhaust your investment funds in any order you deem fit. Now, the last scenario, which is scenario number 7, which is for young individuals that are starting up their careers or investment journeys as a whole and typically don't have any quick urgency that they need to invest in or save for. I would recommend that you exhaust your TFSA simply because your contribution limit is not tied to your income. So unlike the RRSP that will be tied to your income where you don't have enough contribution room, of course, because you're earning little or nothing at all as a young individual. The other reason why I think you should use your TFSA is that the TFSA is a safer option for investments where you don't have any sort of restrictions on your money. You can withdraw it whenever you want to. There's also no timeline attached to the account. You can hold it for as long as possible. And it's also ideal for low income earners or new investors that are just delving into that space overall. However, as a new beginner, I will tell you that you should not overlook the other areas. If you plan to buy a home or invest in some very major activities down the line, you should also consider investing your RRSP and your FHSA down the line. However, what you could do is, after putting a portion or a large chunk of the funds into your TFSA, you can then prorate the balance across your RRSP and your FHSA so you can gradually save towards a home purchase. Alright, thanks so much for taking the time to listen to this. I hope you gained a lot from this video, and if you have any questions or comments around this, feel free to drop it in the comment box. I'm going to address them as much as possible. Or if you're having concerns around how to manage or plan this, also let me know and then we can talk about it in details. Or I could even release a video around any of those areas of concern down the line. Finally, don't forget to click the notification bell so you don't miss any of my subsequent videos, and like, share and subscribe to this channel. Thank you and see you at the next video. Have a good one. Bye.